Happy Sabbath. We are streaming again, and today is October 1, 2016. We are still doing midnight. Yeah, it's turning out to be a pretty long study, isn't it? And last week we were studying. What were we studying? Remember what we studied about the big canon, right? You are going to make a prediction, and that prediction will involve Islam. Islam is going to attack and will cause a major catastrophic economic collapse, and that will be caused by some sort of weapon
Unstable.
that is portable and and unstable.
Is that it's not showing on YouTube?
Not yet. Yeah, it will. It will come on. Yeah, it will. So now we will see what is going to some more characteristic of what is going to happen at midnight, right? Okay. Let me see. All right, we will start off. Let me go to my slide here and start off with the 7 kings of Medo-Persia. So I said, wow, how is this related to anything? How is this related to the story of midnight, right? Okay, but you have to bear with us as we go through this because there's a lot of history right here. This is the 14 kings of Medo-Persia, starting with, let me get my cursor. Where's my cursor? All right, starting with Cyrus, and that's his tomb. And in Cambyses, the tomb of Cambyses also, and false Smerdis. False Smerdis was the one that was the one that was was usurping the power. All right, when Cambyses was at war in Egypt. Okay, and then there is also then comes Darius. Now here, this is a place that maybe someday you can go there. This is so beautiful, but it is a place called Nakshe Rustam in Iran, where the tomb of Darius is right here. This is the tomb of Darius, right? And then this is the tomb of Xerxes right here. This is what they think is the tomb of Xerxes. This is the one that they for sure prove that this is the tomb of Darius. This is the tomb of Xerxes. This is the tomb of Artaxerxes. So which one is Ahasuerus? Xerxes. No, Xerxes. Xerxes is Ahasuerus, the one that married Esther, right? And this is the tomb of Darius II. You see Darius II right here. Which ones are the prophetically significant kings? The first 7, obviously. Right. Xerxes. Artabanus, well, he may be prophetically significant, but the reason he's prophetically significant because Artaxerxes got to be the 7th. So he's the 6th, but Artaxerxes is the 7th, right? All these 7s are prophetically significant. I'm making this point because it'll make a difference. Because what is prophetically significant is not necessarily what is written down in history. What is written down in history is that Artaxerxes is followed by 7 more other kings until the Darius III. And Darius III is the one that is going to be attacked by Alexander the Great, right? Remember, Xerxes was the one that went and attacked Greece with 5 million people. Can you imagine 5 million people attack the realm of Grecia? And then Greece came back, right? And defeated them. But it was 9 kings later before he came. Okay, that's history. But what is prophetically significant is to remember these 7 kings. Okay, all right. Anyway, this is Darius III when he was fighting Alexander the Great, and Alexander the Great was just a boy when he went. He was a very great general, right? When he conquered Medo-Persia. Okay, now what does this have to do with anything? Here's a very busy slide, which is a culmination of our studies regarding the 7 thunders. When you study the 7 thunders, it is the history of the 10 virgins. The 7 thunders, according to Ellen White, is the historical events, which is the delineation of events that happens under the first and the second angel's message, right? The first and second angel's message. So that's the first and the second angel's message right here. All the events are the prophetic endpoints. There are 7 time prophecies that ends between 1798 and 1844. We're not going to go through there. This is just to show that this chart becomes very complicated because it brings in these 7 kings of Medo-Persia, right? The first one is Cyrus, Cambyses, false Smerdis, Darius, Xerxes, Artabanus, and then Artaxerxes. There's 3 decrees: Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes. Artaxerxes is in 457. How does this get pulled into the 7 thunders? By the 2300-day time prophecy, right? It gets pulled in right there by that time prophecy. All right. The 7 last kings of Judah is pulled into this into this 7 thunders by the 2520. If you don't believe in the 2520, you cannot pull in this history here. The last 7 kings of Israel is pulled into this history, the 7 thunders, by the 2520 also. All right. And the 7 trumpets are pulled in with 391 days, 391 years and 15 days, right? It's pulled into history. And these time prophecies, 1260, 1290, talking about the papacy, 1335, right? All of them. This one comes to the time period of the second angel's message. All these time prophecies end between 1798 and 1844, and that's the 7 thunders. But the 7 thunders will be repeated. How did they establish the 7 thunders? Through the understanding of Ezra 7:9. Ezra 7:9 has become such a pivotal verse that the pioneers studied so that they will understand all the events that happens leading up to 1844. And this 7 thunders is the experience of the 10 virgins, which will be repeated to the very letter in our time period, right? So if all these come here and then repeated in ours, okay, all right, these 7 kings go up there, these 7 kings go up there, and these become the 2 sticks of Ezekiel 37. All right, okay. And from here to here, according to Isaiah 23, is the 70 years that Tyrus is forgotten. the reign of one king, which kingdom is this from 1798 to the Sunday Law? The sixth kingdom, right? 1798, who comes up? America. Who falls at the Sunday Law? America. This is one king right here, right? This is the one king. This is the sixth kingdom, right? Okay. Very busy slide, but it just goes to show you how complicated the seven thunders is. Now, if you think this is complicated, the Lion of the tribe of Judah declares the end from the beginning. So if the last 10 kings of Israel and the last 10 kings of Judah is prophetically significant, would it make sense that the first 7 kings of Israel and the first 7 kings of Judah is prophetically significant? Yes, it will, because we have put this into the line. Now, these 7 kings of Israel. No, this is 7 kings of Judah, because Saul ruled over Judah also, right? These 7 kings, they ruled over Judah. But this is the first 7 kings that ruled over Ephraim, or the northern kingdom. And the kingdom was rent at the time of Rehoboam and Jeroboam, right? So this is chronological. Saul, David, Solomon, and then Jeroboam and Rehoboam, they're split. So they are split right here, okay? And Abijah and Asa. This goes down Jeroboam through Ahab. Ahab became king on the 38th year of Asa. So that's why we put 38 right here. All right. Now, what are these dogs doing here? Okay. Whoever dies of Jeroboam is eaten by the dog. So Nadab dies for the sin of Jeroboam, killed by Baasha. Whoever dies of Baasha is eaten by the dog. Elah dies because of the sins of his father Baasha, and he was killed by Zimri. Whoever dies of Ahab will be eaten by the dog. Who dies of the sins of Ahab and is eaten by the dog? Jezebel. So Jezebel is eaten by the dog. These 3 eaten by the dogs is basically a purging of the house of Israel. And who kills Jezebel? Jehu. Isn't Jehu important? Well, you got to know the story of Jehu. Jehu is important. So Jehu was very zealous in killing everybody, but he did not turn Israel to God. No. Right? He did not. Because of that, it's prophesied that his 4 sons will be king of Israel, and then they will be purged. Right? So you count 1, 2, 3, 4. So Zechariah, who became king on the 38th year of Azariah, is purged by Shalom. There's a 38 here. There's a 38 here. There's a purging of the house of Jehu, purging of the house of Ahab. That's the purging of Israel. The purging of the northern kingdom, right? Yeah. The purging of the Nethinims. The purging of the Nethinims starts when? At the Sunday Law, right? Okay, this may be, we gotta study this. You know, this is a review for some of us, but for a lot of us, this is very new studies. We gotta study this. This is very important. And you know this by studying Ezra 7:9. Ezra 7:9 is so crucial to understand all of this. All right. 38 is a purging. 38 also means midnight, because this is the midnight for the Nethinims. It's their binding time, right? 38. So who stands up at midnight and gets purged out of the 12 disciples group, and it was later eaten by the dogs? Judas, right? Judas was eaten by dogs. Is it written in the Bible that Judas was eaten by dogs? No, it's only in Desire of Ages. So the 38 is right here. 38 is midnight. 38 is a purging. 38 also means when you're purged, you're eaten by dogs too. All right. Okay. All right. When you're purged out. Okay. So these first 7 kings right here, and these first 7 kings are significantly important. The kingdom is divided at this waymark right here, at midnight cry. It's separated at midnight cry, and it's joined at the midnight cry. Right? Very important. Yeah, very important. But
Scattering and gathering.
yeah, it's scattered. It's scattered here, and it's gathered here. Okay. All right. We've done this before. This is just a review, but just to show you that the 7 first kings and the 7 first kings of Israel and Judah joins together. So this is what I put together and gives you the summary of the 7 thunders. But now we add the 7 kings of Israel, first 7 kings of Israel, and the first 7 kings of Judah. If they're here, then they got to be here too, right? You add them there. Wow, gets very complicated. It's looking pretty complicated, like the turning points of the wheels of Ezekiel. So that's one point.
What does the color blue symbolize?
The beryl. It's beryl, right? It's the what was beryl color? Beryl is green. But
No, I'm talking about
Oh, but
kings.
the crowns.
oh yeah, there was
Yeah.
this was this is the first 7 kings, the first 7 kings. These are the last 7 kings, last 7 kings.
Okay, so the one that is further off would be the central because they would come in.
That's right. That's right.
Line up.
Yeah. So they line up right here. These are the 2 sticks,
Yeah.
but these also line up right here. Because they all here lines up with midnight cry right here. This lines up right at midnight cry. Remember, they're separated and they're joined right here. This is midnight cry right there. Right. I'm very graphical. I like this kind of stuff. It's okay. But this becomes very complicated because all of this joins up to the 7 thunders right there. So there's another there's a wheel right there, but that's actually 4 wheels joined together. There's 4 wheels of Ezekiel. And this all joins right here. 1989 is a turning point. 9/11 is a turning point. Midnight Cry is a turning point. Sunday Law is a turning point. All of that, the interrelationship of all the lines becomes very complicated. And it is revealed. It has to be revealed. When you understand it, then you know how all the prophecies will point to the end time. All the visions, because this is the vision of Ezekiel, right? Right? All the visions will point to the end time. Okay. All right. So now we have to go back to the 7 times prophecies, because we see that the 7 kings of Judah is very important to understand the 7 thunders. But the 7 kings of Judah was shown by Ezekiel in his vision in Ezekiel 8 that they had committed abominations. How many different abominations? 4 different abominations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you correspond that to the 7 times, how many 7 times? What?
7 times are mentioned in Leviticus 26. 4 times it's mentioned.
4 times it's mentioned.
Yeah.
There's 7 times, scattering and gathering. 4, and they all correspond to the same thing, to the same kings. Right. This first 7 times is when, if you do not hearken unto me, I will break the pride of your power. and you will have to suffer iron and brass, which is iron and brass is servitude and affliction, right? Affliction and servitude, right? Your pride of your power will be broken, and this applies to Manasseh, right? Because he is the first king of Judah that was first sent into captivity. No other kings before him for the kings of Judah were sent into captivity. He was the first one. And where was he sent into captivity? He was sent to Babylon by the Assyrians, right?
And even though he repented and was returned to his nation, he was still tributary.
Right. He was still tributary. And the problem is that the damage was already done because all the people continued to worship Baal, right? So Manasseh went into captivity in 677, and he had a probationary time. The 70 years here is his probationary time, all right? Because he repented. He had a time where he can go through probationary time. And Josiah made a reform. Remember? So Manasseh, Ammon, and then Josiah. Josiah made a reform. He found the book of the Deuteronomy, and he made a Passover and all that. But what happened to him? The reform failed, basically. When did the reform fail? It's actually 609. All right. This chronological, what we will eventually go a little deeper. We just won't accept this. We're not going to just accept somebody says 609. Okay, prove it. That is 609. We have to go and prove it. Right? But we will do that later. I'm just going to tell you right now. 609 is also the year that Babylon conquered Assyria, and Babylon became the predominant power of the world at that time. 609. Right? That's when also Josiah was killed by an arrow. Where? At Megiddo. Megiddo. He was killed at Megiddo. But Jehoiakim, obviously did not follow Josiah's reform, and then Nebuchadnezzar had to come in and besiege Jerusalem. All right. So the probationary period lasts for 70 years because then Nebuchadnezzar came and took the city of Jerusalem, and who went to Babylon under the reign of Jehoiakim in 607? Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. All right, because the second 7 times is for Jehoiakim. And what happens to Jehoiakim? Jehoiakim will be robbed of the children. Who are the children that were robbed of Jehoiakim? Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Right? The boys were taken. And then Jehoiakim, he became a vassal. He became a puppet king for Nebuchadnezzar. You have to pay tribute. But then he decided he wants to go and side with Egypt after 3 years. So what did Nebuchadnezzar do? Nebuchadnezzar sent wild beasts. What are wild beasts? Wild kingdoms. So he sent multiple mercenary kingdoms to defeat the Jehoiakim. Right? This applies to Jehoiakim the second times. Right? Okay, so we'll see that. Manasseh, 70 years until 607. Babylon became ruler. All right. Jehoiakim also has the children of Israel had to leave the land now. Their probation is already over. Now they have to leave their land, and they have to leave their land for 70 years because for 70 years until 70 years later was the decree of Cyrus, right? Cyrus was the decree is 537, and what happened with the decree of Cyrus? you can now go back to your land, right? Now your land does no longer have to rest. Here the land is resting for 70 years. You're taken away, now you can go back. 70 years the land gotta rest, so now you can go back with the decree of Cyrus. 70 years. Probation for Manasseh, 70 years. Then this is, the land has got to rest, okay? Daniel is taken out. Cyrus' decree says you can go back. All right. Okay, but what? Oh yeah, but 2 years before that, Cyrus' decree, 539, what happened at the time of when Darius became king? Babylon was conquered by Medo-Persia. Right? So Babylon started in 609 and ended in 539. How many years is that? 70 years also. 70 years also. Because remember, I'm gonna have to read something. I'm not gonna get the. It's in. Hold on. It's in Jeremiah 25 verse 10. Moreover, I will take from them the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness and the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride and the sound of the millstones and the light of the candle. And the whole land shall be desolation and an astonishment. And these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. Right? All the nations are going to serve Babylon for 70 years. Here's that 70 years. They're going to serve Babylon for 70 years. All right? And that's the year of one king. There you go. This is the year of one king. All right? This is the literal year of one king right there. 70 years. Okay? And it shall come to pass, when 70 years are accomplished, I will punish the king of Babylon, right? This is the 70 years. I will punish the king of Babylon at 539 when Cyrus is going to come and destroy you. And that nation, says the Lord, for their iniquity and the land of the Chaldeans, and will make it a perpetual desolation. So Jeremiah 25 is talking about this 70 years right here. Right? This is the 70 years. Not the 70 years for the land of Judah, where it has to rest. It's talking about the 70 years for Babylon, right? Right, 70 years. Okay. Okay. You know, I'm going. You might be asking, why are we studying this? You know, this is going to be very important. This is going to be very, very important. Okay, very important, because this is the end of a 70-year time prophecy right here. Right there, 70-year time prophecy, and this is an end of a 70-year time prophecy. This is very important. Okay. And if you got your chronology wrong, because if you go on the internet on Wikipedia and find out when the siege happens, it's not going to be five. It's not going to, when does Babylon fall and all that, it's not going to be these years. It's going to be different. I'm going to tell you it's going to be different, because multiple places have different numbers. So you got to get you have to have your chronology correct for these 70 years to fit. And it has to fit. It has to fit. All right. Okay. What about 7 times number 3? Who is it for? Well, obviously we know it's got to be for Jehoiachin, because there is a quarrel of the covenants. These are when the false prophets are telling him, oh, you know what, you're going to come back. They're going to come back in 2 years. They're not going to come back in 70 years. No, they're going to come back in 2 years. So there was a quarrel of the covenants. And when I have broken the staff of your bread, what is the staff of your bread? The staff of your bread is actually the staff. The staff is your ruling power, right? Jehoiachin is the last of the kings that contributed to the line of Judah that became Jesus. because the next king is Zedekiah, his uncle. Jehoiachin is the last king that became the king that continued on, right? The lineage that eventually become that holds the scepter of Judah as a king, right? That's why his staff is broken, right? Okay. Until you know this, then you say, oh, this is why this applies to Jehoiachin. Okay. Now, is there a 70-time prophecy for Jehoiachin? Well, wait a minute. There's two before, there's got to be one, okay? Yeah. Now, Jehoiachin lines up with what a waymark for us? Midnight cry, right? Jehoiachin lines up with midnight cry. Okay, here you go. This is now Jehoiachin is conquered in 597, right? And Ezekiel is taken away, and the family of Mordecai and Esther is taken away at the time of Jehoiachin, right? Okay, what is when this happens? This is the time when the destruction of the city and the wall was very, very severe, right? At the time of Jehoiachin, so that it is actually 140 years later that Artaxerxes will give a decree to go back and build the walls. Right. Why is it 140 years?
There's number 70.
Because Jehoiachin is a midnight cry, it's a doubling.
Oh, no.
Can you believe that?
No.
Midnight cry, there's a doubling. Jehoiachin is at midnight cry. In that 140 years, it's a double of 70. And exactly 140 years later, Artaxerxes gives a decree to rebuild the wall. The devastation of the wall happens right here. Pretty amazing. Okay, 7 times number 4. What? You shall eat the flesh of your sons and the flesh of daughters. When did that happen? During the time of Zedekiah. That's the last siege. That's the worst siege because they had to eat their own children. And now your sanctuary is going to be made desolate. Now your temple is going to be made desolate. Right? So before is the land going to be made desolate, then the wall and the city is going to be made desolate. Now your temple is going to be made desolate. So there's going to be 70 years also, but it has something to do with the temple being rebuilt. Right? So where do we see that? So this is Zedekiah, 586. 70 years from that time is 516. 3 years before that time, Darius gives the decree to rebuild, continue and rebuild, because the temple construction was halted during the time of who? False Smerdis, right? False Smerdis, it stopped because they said, hey, those guys they're not paying taxes, right? They were accused of sedition. They were accused of sedition, right? So false Smerdis says, stop all the work. Then Darius gives a decree, yeah, you can go ahead and finish the temple. And how many years after that? It was in 516, 3 years later. It was finished. And that temple was finished 70 years after it was destroyed by Zedekiah. Do you see all these 70s?
Exactly.
Is this human? This is incredible. This is divine. All right. Okay, there's got to be a meaning to these 70s, right? There's got to be a big meaning. Okay, these 70 years. Look at all these 70 years, right? Okay, there's got to be a meaning. Okay, let's see where this meaning comes into play of figuring out what happens at midnight. Okay. from prophets and kings. For many centuries, God's people suffered the restriction of their liberties. Right? I'm just going to skip all the way down here. The darkness and error and superstition threatened to blot out a knowledge of true religion. God's church on earth was as verily in captivity during this long period of relentless persecution. Still, how long is this relentless persecution for? God's church on earth was in captivity for a long period of relentless persecution, as were the children of Israel held captive in Babylon. Right? When is this and how long? This is how long? Captive in Babylon, how long? 70 years. What is this? The long period of relentless persecution. 1260. So, okay, this is the 1260, right? And this is what? The 70. And what does Ellen White say the relationship between 70 and 1260? It's the same thing. 1260 is 70. All right? Right? I'm just making it there just so you know there's no confusion here, okay?
So you could make that fracture about the years of
then you start
desolation would be 70, and the years of papal desolation would be 70, because one pagan king, all these kings would be one pagan king, all these that's papal, it's one king, and it's 70.
1260, 70 is the same thing prophetically.
That's right.
Because this is how you are going to be able to line up the prophecies. This is why we need the spark notes of Ellen White. You know, I always call her the spark notes. Yeah, she gives you the cheat sheet. You know, you want to cheat on a test, you study the Bible. Our degenerate mind, we cannot get it. Ellen White just gives you the cheat sheet. Here you go. Here. Make it easy for you. I'm going to make it easy. 1260 is 70, okay? All right? That's easy. All right. Makes it Cliff Notes. That's why we need Ellen White.
Spark notes. You don't know, it's just.
Spark Notes, yeah. We need Spark
in
Notes.
high school.
Cheat sheet, you know. Okay. All right. 1260, 70. Put that in your memory bank, all right? Okay.
60 is equal to 70.
And where is it in the Bible? And the women fled into the wilderness for 1,203 score days. What? 538 to 1798. That's 1260. What happened at the end of the 1260 years? The papacy was taken down by who? General Berthier, which is the general of France, Napoleon, France. And Napoleon, France, what kind of kingdom was France? A two-horn kingdom. How is it a two-horn kingdom? Because it is Sodom and Egypt. How is it Sodom and Egypt? What does Sodom mean? Licentiousness. What about Egypt? Atheism. And at that time, France was an atheistic nation and very licentious, so we don't have to go to the details of that, but licentious and atheistic, right? Okay, so it was brought down so that the sixth kingdom can rise up. And that sixth kingdom is what? Is a two-horn prophecy also, which is the sixth kingdom. So the two-horn beast takes down the papacy so that a two-horn kingdom can rise up again. And that's America. What are the two horns of America? Republicanism and Protestantism. All right? And that's, you know, we're basically going over the 1,203 score days, 1260, right? This is all review for us. Okay, and obviously this is 1844 here. Okay. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood the books of the number of years. whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. So what is he talking about? Talking about the 70 years here, right? 607 until 537. That's the desolation of Jerusalem from the time of Jehoiakim to the time of Cyrus, right? That's 70 years. But Babylon's 70 years ends in 539. That is the first year of Darius. Who's Darius again? Who's Darius? He's the uncle of Cyrus, but he became the kind of like the ruler of Babylon, right? He was not the king of the whole realm, because he became the ruler of Babylon, but they called him king, right? Everybody called him king. He was King Darius, but who was the real king of the whole realm? Cyrus. How long did Darius live? 2 years only, right? So that when he died, who took over the kingdom? Who took over Babylon? Then Cyrus took over, right? He was the king of the whole realm. Now he took over Babylon. So the first year of Darius is 539, when Babylon was conquered, right? That's the first year. After he died, this is the third year of Cyrus. This is the third year of Cyrus. Okay, so in the first year of his reign, I understand the books of the number of the years. This is talking about the first year of
Cyrus.
No, Darius. Yeah, you got 9 verse 1. Can you look at 9 verse 1? It's the first year of Darius, right? It's the first year. He's talking about 539.
Oh, okay, the rise.
Yeah, he's talking about for 539. He's talking about the 70 years of. So he was saying in 539, he says, wait a minute, we're almost there. It's only 2 years away until 537, right? We should be going back. What happened? When are we going back? All right, okay, that's kind of like putting words into Daniel's mouth. But that's what's happening here, okay? This is the end of a 70-year prophecy. This is also an end of 70-year prophecy. This is the first year of Darius. This is the third year of Cyrus. Okay? I keep beating this point over and over again, but it's so important. It is so important. Okay. All right. So this is Medo-Persia, who defeated Babylon, is a what kind of power also? Two-horn power, like the hump, right? One hump is higher, and right, and one hump is higher. How is it a two-horn power? It's Medes and Persia. That's pretty simple. Pretty simple. Okay. All right. In the third year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, and the thing was true. But the time appointed was long. Oh, wow. This is now, we got to backtrack here a little bit. We can't just read this and go, wait a minute, what does this all mean? Okay. In Daniel 8, remember Daniel 8? Daniel had a dream. And that dream was what kind of vision? A long vision where he saw all it was a child's own vision. Yeah. He saw all the beasts, right? And at the end towards the end of that chapter, he was given the understanding of how all the beasts were, right? So he understood it. But then he saw the two saints, one speaking to the other, and one said, when will the sanctuary be? How long will be the vision? Right?
2,300.
The 2,300 days, and then the sanctuary shall be cleansed. And then he did not understand that vision, right? What vision was that he did not understand? When he actually fainted And it's the 2300 days vision, because that is that the Chazon vision, Hazon vision? No, that's the Mare vision, right? He didn't understand the Mare vision. When was the Mare vision? When was he given the understanding of the Mare vision? In Daniel 9. When he was praying and says, "Oh Lord, we have sinned, and the sins of our fathers, and we have to ask forgiveness for the sins. And now that we can, because of that, now we can go. We have to go back, right? We have to go back." And then the angel came down and gave him the understanding of the Mare vision, what did he actually understand then? The 70 weeks. When he understood the 70 weeks, then that gave him the understanding of the Mare vision. And then he had understanding of the Mare vision, right? That's Daniel 9. When he understood, the appointed time was long. And then now he understood the Hazon vision, and then he also understood the Mare vision, right? He understood the 2300 days, the 70 weeks. That's how we decipher. And Adventism hinges on that understanding, right? Very true. Okay, well, we keep going. What happened to Daniel after he understood the Mare vision? He had a Mara vision. All right.
It's cause and effect.
All right. Yeah, this is the cause, this is the effect. This is the masculine, this is the feminine, right? He sees the saints talking to each other. He sees Jesus, right? And what happened? He has a Mara vision. He has an experience where he will reflect the character of Jesus, right? This is righteousness by faith right there. This is righteousness by faith. You see Jesus and you reflect the character of Jesus, right? For the men that were with me saw not the vision. Hey, they did not see the vision, and what happened to them? They had to flee. They were purged out. You see the Mara vision at midnight. That's when Judas was purged out, right? They fled. Okay, so the binding time is when there is a purging out. The foolish virgins, the tares, are bound first at midnight, right? And the effect of every vision, all these visions, the effect of all these visions is for our time, right? So we have to know all these visions, because all these visions is for our time. Okay. All right. We keep going. Daniel 20, verse 20, 10, verse 20 to 21. Then said he, knowest thou be there wherefore I come unto thee? This is who talking? Gabriel talking. Gabriel comes to Daniel and says, you have been fasting for 3 weeks. And because you have fasted for 3 weeks, we will give you the understanding now, and we'll give you a vision of what is going to happen in the future. I have been fighting with the Prince of Persia, right? And when I am gone forth, lo, the Prince of Greece shall come. Right? But I will show you that which is noted in the scripture of truth. And there's none that holdeth with me these things, but Michael your prince. I'm going to show you what is prophetically significant. Right? This is, now after you study this, you see, I'm fighting with the Prince of Persia. He is now at the time of Cyrus. And he fights with Cyrus because Cyrus is going to eventually have to give in and give the decree for the people to go back to Judah, right? To Jerusalem. I'm going to fight with him. And after that, the Prince of Grecia was come. Wait a minute. That's like 14 kings later. But he says, you know what? For you in the end time, what is important is what is in the scripture of truth, not what is in history, right? what is prophetically significant. This is what I told you. The first 7 kings, that's what's prophetically significant. The rest of the other kings are not prophetically significant. Know what is important in the scripture of truth, right? And then you continue, because this is the last verse and it continues right there. Then Daniel says, also I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, stood and confirmed and to strengthen him. And now I will show thee the truth. There shall stand there'll stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all. Because I'm standing now at Cyrus, and there's going to be 3 more kings, right? 3 more kings. So Cyrus, 3 more kings after that. What? Cambyses, Smerdis, Darius, and then Xerxes. So the 4th king is going to be Xerxes, and he's going to be far richer. Was he far richer? Yes, he was far richer. That was at the height of their glory. And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. Did he stir up against the realm of Grecia? He sent 5 million people to Greece. They went across, and what happened to them? They lost. Terrible. 5 million.
How much were on
Xerxes, which is Ahasuerus. Ahasuerus sent. So this is still talking about that.
I know you're getting. What is telling me in the context here is that right where Cyrus is.
Right. He was right at Cyrus.
And 3 kings would follow.
Right.
Then when they come off the sea, it would be Grecian.
Right.
And then I know you're getting somewhere, because if we see the types or the figurative figure of the 2 horned beasts versus who are the Grecians,
right,
we're going to see that definitely Xerxes would be the last of the 2 horned four. Then we have the next kingdom, the 7th kingdom.
It's the kingdom of the world. Greece is the world. Right? Greece is the world.
Yes,
You could have a Bible study to prove that, but Greece is the world. Right. Okay. So that we will see that. So this is the one that is going to stir up all against the realm of Grecia. And when you see verse 3, when you see the steps in Daniel 11, he will stir up the realm of Grecia, and the next thing that happens, Greece comes back and conquers them. So wait a minute, what happened to all the other kings? Right? Okay, that's why it's important to understand what is in the scripture of truth. Right? Okay. All right. So the first year of Darius, is that an end time of a 70-year prophecy? Yes. Because that's the end of the Babylonian kingdom, right? That's the end of a 70-year prophecy. Okay. All right. So now we go to our time. We have to go to our time, because how does this all affect us in our time? All right. And because Daniel 11, now we go to the Daniel 11 verse 40. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind. All right. So what events happen at the time of the end? Right? The king of the south push against the north, and the king of the north will make revenge against him. Right? Do you see that? The time of the end, the king of the south will go against the king of the north, and then the king of the north will make a revenge at the time of the end. But the problem is that between this time and this time is a very long time. Okay, well, we have to show this. Okay, this is the very controvertible understanding,
The king of the south
because
and the king of the north.
the definition of the king of the north is a big controversy, right?
Who is the king?
Who is the king of the north? And it has always been a big controversy since the time of the Jesuits came and started the understanding of the preterist view of prophecy. Right. Okay. I'll go into that a little bit later. But the time of the end shall the king of the south. The king of the south is the king of the ideology of atheism. Right? Who is that? General Berthier and Napoleon of France. That's the ideology of atheism. He will push at the king of the north. Who's the king of the north? Is the king of the ideology of Babylon. Right? Who is that? The papacy. So France will push at the papacy. Right? When was that? February 20, 1798. In the meantime, that's the time of the end. So that's the time of the end, right? Okay. In the meantime, the time of the end is also the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind. When did that start happening? When he got help with chariots of horsemen and many ships. When did the papacy get many? What is horsemen and chariots? Military power. What is ships? Economic power. When did the papacy get economic help? When Ronald Reagan came to the Vatican and pledged that they were going to bring down Russia, who's been oppressing Poland, right? They were going to bring down, and they're going to help the Solidaritas movement in Poland, right? It's Ronald Reagan, starting in June 7, 1982. That's when they pledged. And was it successful?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, and June 12, 1987, at the Brandenburg Gate. Yeah, Mr. Gorbachev, please bring down this wall. And did they bring down the wall?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
That's the Brandenburg Wall.
That's 7 years before 1989. 7 times.
Right, right. It's very important to know this sequence, right? President Reagan was still president in June 12, 1987. And then the wall came down on November 9, 1989. And there's a remnant of that wall near the S-Bahn Nordbahnhof.
The
Train station. You can go and still see this place right there. Yeah. Okay. What happened on 9/11, 1989? September 11, 1989. There's something significant happened. It's not prophetically significant, but it's significant still, because that is when Hungary opened its border with Austria. Before, the Eastern Bloc was completely isolated from the Western Bloc. They cannot just cross over. But the Eastern Bloc was crumbling so much economically that finally they said, we're gonna have to be able to send over, we have to be able to open up the border, right? So then when it started to leak, then everybody started coming over. Then everybody started opening their border. And eventually, the whole Eastern Bloc was opened, right? The wall of the separation between the East and West fell. This is the fall of the wall of East and West. And December 2, 1989, the leader of the ideology of atheism finally succumbed to the leader of the ideology of Babylon. December 2, 1989. All right. Okay. All right. So this is the time of the end, and this is also the time of the end, right? That's time of the end. So 1798 is the time of the end, is 1989, right? Time of the end, time of the end. The other one is what? 1260 and 70, right? And remember that 1798 is time of the end. 1989 is time of the end also, all right? Okay. In the meantime, what was happening in spiritual Israel between this time, in this time period? What was happening in spiritual Israel in this time period? Remember, we're talking about Ronald Reagan and America. Ronald Reagan and America forgot who the Antichrist is. It's the time of Manasseh. And what happened at the time of Manasseh? He forgot. And what was his 2520? His pride of power being broken. And what was his abomination that corresponds to the time of Manasseh? There's the 4 abominations in Ezekiel. What was the first abomination that corresponds to the time of Manasseh? The image of jealousy. The image of jealousy corresponds to the time of Manasseh. How is that? That's the image of jealousy. Where is the image of jealousy in the Bible? Exodus 20 verse, let's read Exodus 20 verse 5. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate me. This is 1988. The Sabbath school lesson in 1988, the 3rd quarter, teaches Seventh-day Adventism to now worship God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. In 1988, approximately how many years is that since 1844? Almost 160 years. How much is 160 years? 4 generations. Is that significant? And what happened in the 4th quarter? They're talking about still the baptism. The baptism is through three beings, right? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost described as beings, because that's exactly what the catechism of the Catholic Church teaches, right? It's through 3 beings, not through the one authority of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Yes, that's one authority. So this is the image of jealousy. You see that? That's the time of Manasseh. That's happening in spiritual Israel. What was happening outside and what was happening inside correlates. All right. So this is our waypoint. This is 1989. Right? Russia and the wall of Berlin fell. Okay, that's the time of the end. Okay, that's the time of the end, and that's where the king of the north took revenge on the king of the south. That's the time of the end. That's when Manasseh forgot. America forgot who the papacy was. And spiritual Israel forgot who their pioneers worshiped. Right? They forgot who their pioneers worshiped. Completely forgot. And what did they do? Right. They worship image, the gods of Babylon. Now Manasseh is followed by Jehoiakim. Jehoiakim is at the 9/11. Jehoiachin at midnight cry. Remember midnight cry? There's a doubling. Jehoiachin is at midnight cry, and Zedekiah is at the Sunday law. Zedekiah also means cleansing. That's right. The sanctuary will be cleansed. You know, that also lines up with October 22, 1844. The four abominations. That's the six gods of Babylon is the same, similar to the five gods of the Catholics of Revelation 9, right? And spiritual Israel is actually worshiping the three gods of the papacy. The same gods that the papacy is worshiping, that spiritual Israel is also worshiping. And that's the image of jealousy right there, right? It fits. I can't believe it when I was looking, you know, I look at how is the masses being taught this? It has to be through the Sabbath school lesson. Just go back to the Sabbath school lesson.
It is.
It is. And what happened? When was how long is the probation between Manasseh and Jehoiakim? 70 years, right? This is prophetically 70 years. Because what happens at 9/11? The probation closes and the destruction happened, right? All right. What happened at the time of Jehoiakim? What was the abomination? The secret places. What is the secret places? Spiritualism, right? What is spiritualism? When did spiritual Israel go into spiritualism? When they adopted spiritual formation in September 2001 as being a core requirement for students who want to become workers graduating from the seminaries of the schools. Right? That's the spiritualism of the secret places. What about Jehoiachin? Weeping for Tammuz. What is weeping for Tammuz? It is the false latter rain. Right? Where do we? What are we going to see? We're living right here. What are we going to see? Which is already happening, but it's going to be fully manifested. What is the false? You know, I'm just gonna give you. I didn't write it up there. SM1, SM204. They are going to go into the cities and do a wonderful work. Review and Herald, March 18, 1884. The ministers will urge upon the people the necessity of keeping the first day of the week. 2 SM53, right? Satan will start working miracles. How? He will make people sick and then suddenly remove from them his satanic power. And who's going to be deceived?
Very less.
They will then be regarded as healed. These works of apparent healing will bring Seventh-day Adventists to the test. Many who have had great light will fail to walk in the light because they have not become one with Christ. Does that happen before or after the Sunday law? By the description right there. It's before. It happens right here. That's the false latter rain. They're going to perform miracles. And it's who's going to actually do those miracles? Satan. False miracles right there. And then the elders bowing down. That's Zedekiah, right? That's Zedekiah. Okay, so we know this 1989 is the time of the end. also. Okay, now we gotta go really quick into the kings of Rome, the kings of Rome. All right, because Daniel has this vision, and the vision of Daniel 11 is established by who? By the robbers of thy people. Daniel 11 verse 14. And in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south. Also the robbers of thy people, they shall exalt himself to establish the vision, to establish this Hazon vision. This vision of Daniel 11 is established by, who's the robbers of thy people? This is a controversy, right? But our pioneers completely believe that the robbers of that people is Rome, because until the end of this vision is always about Rome, right? Who's the king of the south? Ptolemy the fifth Epiphanes. He was only 5 years old, and the king of the north goes, oh wow, that's easy pickings. So he goes with the king of Greece, Philip of Macedon. They come together and they said, oh, let's get him. But wait a minute. The robbers of thy people says, wait a minute, no, you can't. We are making an alliance with Egypt, and you can't come against him. All right? This is a review of Daniel 11. And the king north shall come and cast them out. Who's the king of the north still at that time? Is Antiochus III. He still comes and he goes to defeat Ptolemy. All right. And he cast up a mount and take the most fences, and the arms of the south shall not withstand, neither his chosen people, the people that are taking care of this 5-year-old king. Neither shall there be any strength to withstand. They cannot withstand. All right. So his son Antiochus Epiphanes comes and says, "Okay, I'm gonna come down and take over Egypt." But Egypt is always being protected by Rome. So Rome says, send an ambassador to Antiochus Epiphanes, and he put a line on the ground. Says, do not pass this line in the sand. Remember that story? Right? And what did Antiochus Epiphanes do? He obeyed Rome, right? Antiochus Epiphanes. But he still came. He still came, and he went and conquered Jerusalem, and he set up the images in the temple, and he made the people eat pig, and he made the children. He said the children do not have to be circumcised, and because of this, he's called the king of the north that is standing in the glorious land. All right. All right. But the problem is that version of Daniel 11 was given by the Jesuits after the Reformation started, because during the time of the Reformation, Martin Luther started to have the historicist view. The historicist view goes like this. The historicist view. Historicist view says that the Daniel and Revelation, the events of Daniel and Revelation happen literally, but become fulfilled spiritually even until Jesus' second coming. The preterist view, which is Catholic view, which is adopted by the world, says that all the prophecies have ended at or before 70 AD for the Israelites. Nothing is spiritual for us anymore, right? So this gets to be a big problem, because then they will say that Antiochus Epiphanes is the king, is that little horn that comes in and breaks Israel, breaks Jerusalem, breaks Judah, right? But who is he that cometh into the glorious land? It's actually Pompey the Great. Our pioneers put Pompey the Great as the king of the north now. Because first, what he does, he conquers Syria in, let's see, 65 BC. Then he marches and conquers Jerusalem, right? Okay. Then after that, he will go and conquer Egypt, right? Now Egypt here is Pompey wants to go to Egypt, but then he is killed. Then Julius Caesar comes in, right? Remember this story?
Yeah.
Yeah. Julius Caesar comes in and corrupts Cleopatra. And they have their son is little Caesar right there, right? But Cleopatra does not stand with Julius Caesar, right? Because even as Julius Caesar went back and he was able to go to the Isles, meaning he went to the sea and conquered the rest of Mediterranean, right? His prince, which is Gaius Cassius Longinus, thought that he was doing a bad thing by wanting to become a king for life, and that's why he has to be killed, right? So when he came back, he turned face of the fort of his own land. He came back. What happened to him? He was murdered at the Ides. When? The Ides of March, right? He was murdered at the Ides of March. So who became the ruler of Rome? A triumvirate, a three leader rulership. Octavian, Lepidus, and Mark Antony. Lepidus was quickly disposed of, and they was eventually became Octavian versus Mark Antony. Mark Antony sided obviously with Cleopatra in the south, and Octavian took the rest. Who actually won then? Obviously we know. Mark Antony lost, right? Yeah. Who eventually became Caesar? And he became Caesar Augustus, right? And who is Caesar Augustus? He is the raiser of taxes, all right? At Jesus' birth, right? And when Jesus was born, he was the raiser of taxes because he had to raise taxes such that Mary and Joseph have to return so that Jesus can be born in the place where he's supposed to be born, right? So there has to be a raiser of taxes, and he is the raiser of taxes, Caesar Augustus. He came into history just in time for that reason. Okay. Now Herod the Great at this time, remember Herod the Great was the king that wanted to kill Jesus. Who was he appointed the king of the Jews at that time by? Who appointed him? It was Mark Antony. Mark Antony. You know, that's actually quite interesting because you realize later on that all the rulers and even the high priest were all appointed by Roman rulers.
Yes.
Right. That's very, very important. Okay. Now this is Tiberius. I gotta slow down here a little bit because Tiberius is very important.
Yep.
Okay. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person. Tiberius was a very vile person. Oh boy! If you read the story, it is very it's terrible. He was a drunk, and it's told that he was really only drunk once. From the day he came into power until the day he died, he was only drunk once. He never stopped drinking. And he was probably bipolar. He had torture chambers. He practiced homosexuality and child molestation. And he caused the people of Rome to go through a reign of terror that is described to be the same reign of terror as the time of France. It was a reign of terror. So Tiberius' time was like the time of France also. It is actually described. He made the people suffer a lot. Okay, and he came up by flatteries. Yeah, he says, well, you know what? I really don't have to be king, but if you really want me to be king, it's okay. I'll be a king. All right. The issue is that he was the adopted son of Augustus. He was the adopted son of Augustus. He was the stepson. Because, and what happened is what would be considered the legal heir of the Caesarship already died when Tiberius was the only one left. So the son-in-law of Augustus died, the two grandsons of Augustus died, and there's nobody else that could be king. I mean, should be Caesar. So Tiberius became king, became emperor, right? Became emperor. All right, and he was a very vile person, right? Okay, all right. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him and shall be broken. And during his time was when the Prince of the Covenant, Jesus, was crucified, right? Because at midnight, Jesus had to go against the tribunal. How many times? 7 times. He went to 7 tribunals, right? And he had to go in front of Caiaphas, and then had to go in front of Pontius Pilate, and then went to Herod, and then went back to Pontius Pilate, and it was like 7 times. Now you can see here that Jesus had 3 enemies, right? The true prophet has 3 enemies: the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. Now I'm going to ask you, who's the beast? Who's the beast? Wait a minute. What is the beast? Is it church? False church. Who's the leader of the false church? Caiaphas. Who's the beast then? No, it's Israel. It's the false at that time, right? At that time, right? Now, who's the false prophet? This is a tricky one because I purposely did not put him up there, just to trick you. Who's the false prophet? It's Judas.
Oh, he's Judas?
Yeah, he's the one that betrayed. Who was dancing in front of the dragon? Salome. Who was dancing in front of? It was a dancing in front of the. Who was dancing to capture Jesus? Basically, Judas, right?
Yeah.
He was dancing to get Jesus captured, right? Which was really the intention of the beast. It was Caiaphas that really wanted Jesus. Did Pontius Pilate really want Jesus? No, not really. Who really wanted Jesus? Caiaphas, the beast. Who really wanted John the Baptist? Herodias. Who really wanted Elijah?
It was
Jezebel. It's the beast,
Yeah.
right? So who is the dragon then? Well, Pontius Pilate and Herod, because they're the civil power, right? Just to break that up, just to make sure you understand, right? Okay. All right. So now we know that at the time of Tiberius is when midnight cry, and the Sunday law happens, right? Midnight is when Jesus is arrested. Midnight cry was when Judas cried with a loud voice, and then Jesus was crucified during the time of Tiberius, right? Okay. So we'll put this together now. 70 years ends at 539. Also, there's also another 70 years, and that ends of 537, right? And then these are the 7 kings: Cyrus, Cambyses, false Smerdis, Darius, Xerxes, Artabanus, and Artaxerxes, the 7 kings of Medo-Persia. And this Artaxerxes made his decree on what? 457. And that is the time prophecy of 2,300 years that brings you into 1844, right? You get that?
Yes.
We know that. Okay. But this 70 also is 1260. So where's that 1260? From 538 to 1798, right? So we got that?
Yeah.
All fits right there, right? Okay. This is the time of the end. And since 1260 is 70 also, where's the time of the end? Here. This is the time of the, oh, okay, this is time of the end, right? When America becomes power, papacy is taken down by France. That's the time of the end. This is also the time of the end, right? Okay, because the end of 70 is the end of 1260, right? So this is also the time of the end, right? Because 70 is 1260.
And it's also the fulfillment of a time prophecy.
Right, and there's
Of a prophecy.
prophecy. There's the end of these time prophecies, right? That is the time of the end. The time of the end for Babylon, and the time of the end of the captivity for the for Judah, right? Okay, and that also is the time of the end where the kings of Rome, right? This is the time of the end because this king is the first one that establishes the vision, right? He's the first one that establishes the vision. He's the first king, Pompey, followed by Julius Caesar, followed by Augustus Caesar, and he's the raiser of taxes, right? And followed by Tiberius, the richest. He's licentious, and he eventually brought Pontius Pilate to become the governor, which brought Jesus, and that's the cross, 34. So the Tiberius, right? This is Tiberius lines up with Xerxes. Augustus lines up with Darius. Julius Caesar lines up with false Smerdis. Cambyses lines up with Pompey, right there. Okay, all right. These 4 kings are very important. Okay. So now for us, this is this next one will be our last slide. Oh no, we have to read Daniel again. Also I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall, at the time of the end, there shall stand up yet, right? There's still going to be 3 kings after this in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than they. And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up against the realm of Grecia. Okay, so this is where we line it up. This is time of the end. This is time of the end. This is time of the end for us, 1989. Okay? This is the 7 kings, lines up with the Cambyses, remember? False Smerdis, Darius, and Xerxes. So the characteristics of Xerxes plus the characteristics of Cyrus will be the king that will rule and bring on midnight. Sorry, Xerxes and Tiberius. Xerxes and Tiberius, sorry. The characteristics of Xerxes and the characteristics of Tiberius will be the characteristics of the king in our time that will bring in midnight, right? Okay.
Rich.
Okay, so 1989 So 1989, who was the king? Not the king. The president of America in 1989.
He was a king.
He was a king. Yeah, he was a king. Yeah. Who was the president? The Bush.
Oh, the Bush.
Bush, right?
Oh, the father Bush.
Because remember, Bush became president in January, right, of 1989. Yeah, the election is, he became, so that 1989 is the time of the end, and Bush is president at that time. And what Daniel say? There yet shall stand shall stand 3 kings, and then the 4th will be far richer, and that 4th one will stir up the realm of Grecia. Okay, there's yet is going to be 3 kings: Clinton, Bush. Does Bush line up at 9/11?
Yes.
Who was the president in 9/11? Bush. Right. Okay. Who's after that? Obama. Does Obama? What was Obama's primary logo or rallying cry when he wanted to be elected? Yeah, change. What did he want to change? He wanted to tax the rich more and give it to the middle class, right?
Yeah.
That was his rallying cry. Who's the raiser of taxes? Mhm. So who's the 4th king that is going to be richer than all?
Xerxes and Tiberius.
Xerxes and Tiberius. That's the next president.
What are their characteristics?
Now, okay, let's go through the characteristics. He's going to be a vile, or he or she is going to be a vile person. It.
Licentious, vile, rich.
Vile. Vile, right?
Not vile.
There's a lot of people consider Trump vile. Oh, yes. But a lot of people consider Hillary vile. Oh, yes. Either way, it's correct.
And money, yes, on
Yes.
both sides.
Are they
yes.
going to be rich?
Oh,
Well, they
yes.
are rich personally. But the issue is that this rich is spiritual rich. Because even when Islam attacks here, America is still going to be rich. Why?
Military.
Because it will be able to still enforce the Sunday law to the whole world. Right?
Still the leader.
It will still have the economic and the military power. So it will still be rich. So it's not necessarily the richness of Donald Trump or the Clintons. Right? It is proportionally the richness of the United States that is going to still be able to tell the Philippines or Jamaica or Indonesia or Germany, you follow the Pope, follow the Sunday law, or you have, or whatever.
Anybody?
It's gonna be bipolar.
Yeah,
It's
and both are bipolar.
all right.
Clinton.
Tiberius was a vile and despised person, becomes Caesar by flatteries. Although not mentioned by the Bible, he comes up by power even when the sons and the grandsons and the son-in-law of Augustus had died. So some people say, well, you know what? He's not going to have competition. Whoever is going to come up is not going to have a competition. He's going to win he or she is going to win by landslide. I don't know about that. It could be or it could be not. I'm not sure. Is that prophetically significant? Who knows? Yeah. Yeah.
Flatteries.
But flatteries. By flatteries.
Both
Both
flatters people.
Both are flattered.
Yeah, I think everybody likes to flatter. Just to get elected, they'll say anything, right?
Any politicians.
Yeah.
He's unloved ruler.
Right. And he was a drunk with the wine of Babylon. Okay. And has no morals.
Oh, well, both of them.
And the thing, what is going to happen? Xerxes is going to attack Greece. It's going to stir up the realm of Greece. It's going to stir up the world,
Yeah.
such that the world will eventually come and attack back. And because of that, at the Sunday law, and this is at midnight, right? This is Sunday law. At the Sunday law, America is not going to be able to rule the world. It is only going to be through the United Nations that America is going to be able to rule the world.
And then the national apostasy that they are
Right.
National ruin.
the ruin will be starting there.
What about Xerxes? What is the character of Xerxes that is so significant? Right. Who's Haman?
Oh, the other guy.
Who's Haman? Was Haman at the time of Xerxes or Ahasuerus? Right. What did Haman try to do? He started rolling the dice. He starts taking, selecting lots, trying to find out when is the good time to hang Mordecai. When did he start rolling? Casting lots. When did it? The first day of the first month, starting at 9/11. He's already casting lots at 9/11, just waiting for the right time.
Is there of the 10 kings?
Yeah, the Haman. Haman is going to bring in Xerxes. So the character of Xerxes during the time of Xerxes is Haman. And Haman is the one that brings in the Sunday law. But the problem is that he is the one that's hanged. Oh boy. Ooh, what a relief. But he's the one that also sets up the death decree, right? So the characters of Xerxes plus the character of Tiberius is somebody that you're going to elect right here. This president will for sure bring in midnight. And what happens at midnight? Jesus is arrested. And he's accused of blasphemy and sedition and profanation. You are going to be accused of blasphemy because you claim that you are worshiping one God and not the God of the God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. No, you say that you worship God the Father and the Son of God through the one united Spirit of the Father and Son can abide in you. Right?
Amen.
When you say that, what are you going to be accused of? Just like Jesus was accused of blasphemy, right? You're going to be accused of blasphemy, right? Jesus was accused of blasphemy because he was claiming he was the Son of God. So that truth of the Son of God is so diametrically different than what the spiritual Jews believed at that time, at midnight, that they can actually accuse Jesus of blasphemy. That underlying principle will happen to us. Because our understanding of who the Son of God will be so diametrically different than spiritual Israel now, that we will be arrested. Right? And that's going to be Haman. That's going to be Pontius Pilate. That's going to be Herod. That's going to be Caiaphas. Right? Haman right here at Xerxes. And Judas. Judas. We forgot the false prophet.
Judas.
Yeah. It's all right here. It's gonna, so we are going, I'm gonna make sure I put in my vote because I don't want to miss this election. I for sure am not gonna miss this election. because it's a crucial election.
It's our destiny.
You are actually choosing your destiny, but God already chose it for you. Remember the story of Haman?
Yeah.
Haman will eventually, and his 10 sons are going to hang on the gallows that he built. Right? That's the time of Xerxes. All these things is the more sure word of prophecy. All right. Wow. Okay. That ends the story, our studies about midnight. We'll still continue going on later on. And later on, we'll study about the siege. That also is based on the book of Ezekiel. So we're going to use the book of Ezekiel to put in all the visions of Ezekiel, which is, the effect of every vision. All those visions will point out to what is going to happen at midnight cry and the Sunday law. All those things, all those visions are very important, and we got to study that because the book of Ezekiel is not studied very much, specifically because the chronology is so difficult. But now that the chronology has been opened up, oh, it is beautiful, right? So we're going to do that, God willing, next week. All right.